सहना भवतु सहनौ भुनक्तु सह वीर्यं करवावहै तेजस्विनावधीतमस्तु मा विद्विषावहै। ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः। आत्मा रामानन्दरमणा आत्मा रामानन्दरमणा अच्युत केशव हरिनारायण अच्युत केशव हरिनारायण भवभयहरणा वन्दितचरणा भवभयहरणा वन्दितचरणा रघुकुलभूषण राजीवलोचन रघुकुलभूषण राजीवलोचन आदिनारायण अनन्तशयना आदिनारायण अनन्तशयना सच्चिदानन्दा सत्यनारायण सच्चिदानन्दा सत्यनारायण भवभयहरणा वन्दितचरणा रघुकुलभूषण राजीवलोचन आत्मा रामानन्दरमणा आनन्दरमणा ॐ नमो नारायणाय। ॐ नमो नारायणाय। ॐ नमो नारायणाय। ॐ नमो नारायणाय। सच्चिदानन्दरूपाय विश्वोत्पत्त्यादिहेतवे तापत्रयविनाशाय श्रीकृष्णाय वयं नुमः। श्रीकृष्णाय वयं नुमः। Humble prostrations to one and all present here. So for the next 6 days, we'll be taking up the stories of devotees from the first canto of Bhagavatam. So many devotees are there, starting with Narada Rishi. Then we have Draupadi. Then we have Bhishma. Then we have Dhritarashtra also. Then we have the Pandavas. And finally, how the Pandavas leave the body remembering the Lord. So all these topics we are going to see in these 6 days. So today we are going to see the story of Narada Rishi. So these stories come in the first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam. Okay. So how does this story start of Narada Rishi? So once our Vedavyasa Rishi, he was seated on the banks of Saraswati. He was very sad. Why was he sad? He felt unfulfilled. He thought, I have done everything for the sake of the people who are going to be born in Kali Yuga. What kind of people are going to be born in Kali Yuga? He could see. He was a Trikaladarshi. So he could see Mandaha, Sumandamatayaha, Mandabhagyaha, Upadrutaha, Alpayushaha. Nice adjectives are given for us. Lazy people, unintelligent, foolish, distracted, people of low lifespan, no belief in the Vedas or scriptures or God. So Vyasa Rishi thought, what can I do for them? So then he compiled the Vedas, divided it into 4. He was not satisfied. Then the essence of the Vedas were taken and he composed Mahabharata. So everything was done, but he was not fulfilled. And he was not knowing why he was not fulfilled. So thus when he was seated, at that time Narada Rishi comes. Narada Rishi asks Vyasa Rishi. So immediately Vyasa Rishi gets up, does the puja of Narada Rishi. So then this Rishi asks, what happened, O Vyasa Rishi? Why are you sad? You have done such wonderful composition for the welfare of all. You should be fulfilled. Then Vyasa Rishi said, no, this is what I am not able to understand. Will you please enter into the depth of my hearts and find out, because you have that ability. You are that Rishi who can go to any of these 14 worlds, in and out. Nobody is there to obstruct you. You have that ability. Not only that, you can go into the different worlds, you can also enter into the depth of the hearts of each and every human being and know what is there. So will you please enter into the depth of my hearts and find out where exactly I have gone wrong. So with his permission, Naradji finds out. And then Naradji says, oh Vyasa Rishi, you have done one mistake. No doubt you have composed all this, especially Mahabharata, Dharma, Artha, Kama, Moksha. You have gone into detail, expounded it so well, but there is one mistake you have done. What is the mistake? See, the whole creation belongs to the Lord. And how much you should have glorified the Lord, you have not done that. You have glorified Dharma, all those things, but that Bhagavan you did not glorify. That bhakti element is not sufficiently emphasized. So therefore, this is the one thing you have to do. You have to bring out another composition where bhakti is glorified, because bhakti is absolutely essential. Bhakti is literally the mother of knowledge and dispassion. And bhakti is something which everybody can understand, because it is a language of love. So it is that language which even animals are able to understand. Therefore, you must bring out a composition on devotion of the Lord. It is only this devotion which brings true fulfillment. So therefore, go into Samadhi and remember all those Leelas of Bhagavan and bring out those glories in a composition. So thus was born Srimad Bhagavatam. Then Narada Rishi says, you see, it is this bhakti which transformed my life. So how did bhakti transform your life? So Narada Rishi then goes on to explain, goes on to describe his life story. So this is how we have in Bhagavatam first canto the story of Narada Rishi. So how does he start? Let us also start. Okay. So this comes in the 5th chapter. You don't have to see the book, but I will chant for my satisfaction. Okay. So this comes in the 5th chapter of the first canto. So Narada Rishi is describing his life. What does he say? Aham puratita bhave bhavam mune dasyastu kasyaschana vedavadinam nirupito balaka eva yoginam Shusroshane pravrishi nirvivikshatam. O Rishi, in the previous kalpa, I was born as a son of a servant maid, as a dasi putra, in a very low caste Shudra family I was born. But then some Rishi Munis used to come to our village for Chaturmasya. So these are the 4 months of rainy season. So generally nobody does anything outside, everybody is inside. So they would do satsang. So these Rishi Munis came and I was given the responsibility along with my mother to take care of them. So I got lot of opportunity to be with these Mahatmas. And what kind of child I was? I was just a child of 5 years. But I was little different. In what way? Te maya peta khila chapalirbhake dante dhruta kridanake nuvartine चक्रुः कृपां यद्यपि तुल्यदर्शनाः शुश्रूषमाणे मुनयोल्पभाषिणी. I was a very different child. Even at that age of 5 years. Generally small children, they are very restless. So most of you are Balivya teachers, so you know. They are very restless. They can't sit quietly. But I did not have that kind of restlessness. Apeta akhila chapale. That chapalyam was not there. Restlessness was not there. I would sit in a place quietly. And Dante, sense organs were in control. Hands, legs moving here and there. No, I would sit quietly in a place. Adhruta Kridanake, I did not have any fascination for the toys. Generally, children are very much fascinated by the toys, but I had no desire for them at all. And Anuvartini, I was a very obedient child. Whatever the elders say, I would just obey. And Alpa Bhashini, I would talk very less. Shushrushamane, whatever job was given to me, I would just do it. Taking care of these Mahatmas, whatever they said, I would just obey them. And therefore, what happened was, these Mahatmas had a special love and affection for me. You know, especially when you see such a child, very obedient, very humble, very disciplined, not fidgety, very quiet. So naturally we have a special affection for such children, because it is very rare to see such children. So these Mahatmas, they had a special love and affection for me. And then also, as a child, I would wait for them to finish their food. The food was served to these Mahatmas. After that, whatever was remaining, that I would eat. Now, this is another great thing. Children are generally very much addicted to food. The moment food comes, they become miserable. We tried this once in our Balavihar summer camp. So we asked them to chant 15th chapter after getting the food served. So food was there. Say, don't touch the food till the 15th chapter is chanted. So we saw how difficult it was for them. Slowly the hands would go. That literally no control over the hand. Something they would take and try to bite, some chips or something. So literally we have to police them. So, whereas Narada Rishi as a child, he was so controlled, everything was done, he would just sit quietly. After they had finished, he would eat. And this way what happened, because of the remnants, Yajna Shishtashina Santaha Muchyante Sarva Kilbishaihi. So these are called the remnants of Yajna. So in this way, my mind became extremely pure. Being in their company, learning from them. And therefore, the mind became pure and I would sit in their satsang also. So morning, afternoon, evening, they would do this katha. So this was in the previous kalpa. So Krishna katha would happen and I would sit and listen. And as I was listening to the stories of Krishna, I started developing devotion for Bhagavan. I started developing love for the Lord. And then what happened slowly, because the mind was so pure, a time came when, what he said, Tasminstada labdharucher mahamune Priyashravasyaskhalita Yayahame tatsadasat Pashyemai brahmani kalpitam pare. The mind became so pure, and morning, afternoon, evening, constantly I was listening to this satsang. slowly, I started experiencing that this whole world is just a projection upon me. And who am I? Brahmani, Pare Brahmani. I started experiencing that the whole world is just a projection of the mind upon me. Who is this? Pure consciousness. Now this is the highest state. The whole world is just a projection upon the Supreme Brahman, and I am that Brahman. So in this way, constant satsang gave me this highest knowledge. And after the 4 months, these compassionate Mahatmas, they left the place. And because of their grace and blessings, I gained this knowledge. So, bhakti purified my mind. Mind became free from rajas and tamas. And in that pure mind, I gained this knowledge. So therefore, Vyasa Rishi, you must also compose something which will develop devotion in the hearts of all. So at that time, Vyasa Rishi said, Narada Rishi, you have not completed your story. Please tell elaborately. How did you live after that? Once those Mahatmas had left, how did you live? How did you drop the body? And moreover, this happened in the previous kalpa. How is it that you are remembering in this kalpa? People generally forget everything after death. How is it that you are able to remember? So now Naraji goes into detail. So what does he say? Yes, let me tell you. My mother was extremely attached to me because she did not have anybody else other than me. Ekatmaja me janani yoshin mudha cha kinkari mayatmaje nanyagato chakre snehanubandhanam. My mother was helpless. She was extremely attached to me, and I was also extremely attached to her because we did not have anybody else. She was alone. She had only me to give her company, the only child. And she was helpless. She wanted to, do a lot of things for me, but she was poor. She did not have a husband. And moreover, she was born in a low caste. So she was helpless. And she was attached to me. I was also very much attached to her. But one day, what happened? Ekada nirgatam gehat duhantim nishigam pathi sarpo dashat pada sprishtaha kripanam kalachoditaha. One day, in the night, she went to milk the cow. In the night. So how many times milking happens? Twice it happens, okay. Those who are grown in villages, they know. Morning also you milk the cow. Morning you get more milk. Evening also you milk the cow. So one day my mother went out to milk the cow, and it was night. There was one snake there. She stamped upon that snake. The snake bit her and she died. Now, the only relationship of this little boy, that also gone. But how did that boy take it? Anyone else would have said, God, what is this? The only person whom I am connected to, you have taken away. You are cruel, etc. But see, this boy at that age is maturity. Tada tadahamishasya bhaktanam shamabhipsatah anugraham manyamanaha pratishtham dishamuttaram. What did this boy consider? He did not complain, grumble, question God. Oh God, why me? No such thing. What did he say? Tada tad aham ishasya bhaktanam Bhaktanam shamam abhipsatah ishasya anugraham manyamanah. This boy said, if God has done it, definitely He has done it for my good. I may not understand why He has done it, but one thing is for sure, He has done it for my own good. Bhaktanam shamam abhipsata. God will never do anything which is bad for His devotee. He is always our well-wisher. So, it must be a blessing in disguise. You see, at that age, to have this kind of maturity is unbelievable. No complaining, no grumbling, accepting it with prasada buddhi. Now this is called as prasada buddhi. Whatever happens in my life, I don't complain. I say that God, if you have done it, it must be for my own good. So this is called as cheerful acceptance of choiceless situation. If the situation is choiceless, I should accept it cheerfully. Now this is an ability which only devotees can have. All the others complain and grumble. Why did this happen to me? Etc. etc. But this boy, and then what did he do? Now there was nobody for him. He started walking towards the northern direction. What is there in the northern direction? Himalayas. He started walking. So from the city and town, he's slowly going away into the villages, into the mines. And after walking a long distance, he entered into a dense forest, infested with all wild animals. Here and there branches were broken very clearly by elephants. He started entering into that forest full of serpents and all kinds of things. And finally he entered into a very dense area. Only he was there. He was extremely tired, exhausted, hungry. And then he found a small lake. He just took a bath there, refreshed himself, and then sat under a peepal tree, Ashwatha Vriksha. And then all the teaching that he had gained from those Rishimunis, he started reflecting upon it, all alone. Dhyayatascharanam bhojam bhavanirjita chetasa Autkanthyaashrukalakshasya hridyasinmeshanair harihi. He started meditating upon the lotus feet of the Lord. Bhava nirjita chetasa, with heart filled with emotion of devotion and with intense longing. Autkanthya ashrukula akshasya, eyes filled with tears, with an intense longing. Now he has nobody else. You see, many times, our prayer becomes single pointed when we have nobody, when we have no support. And literally, for this little boy of 5 years, there was nobody. So his longing was single pointed, with heart filled with the emotion of devotion, longing for the vision of Lord. He prayed, and in that pure mind, what happened? Hridi asid me shanaihi harihi. He started experiencing the presence of the Lord in his heart. When the heart becomes pure, we start experiencing the presence of the Lord. Bhagavan is there in the hearts of everyone, but why don't we experience it? The mind is not yet prepared. But with that intense emotion of devotion, he started feeling his presence. Then what happened? प्रेमातिभरनिर्भिन्न पुलकाङ्गोति निर्वृतः आनन्दसंप्लवे लीनः नापश्यमुभयं मुने. The heart was filled with this devotion. The hairs stood on end. All the sufferings, miseries, everything vanished. He was literally drowning in an ocean of bliss. And in that state, na apashyam ubhayam munehe. O Mune, O Rishi, in that state, I cease to experience duality. So what is that state? What is that state called? Nirvikalpaka Samadhi, where the seer and the seen, that division, Vikalpa means division. Nirvikalpaka means what? Division between the seer and the seen. Sometimes it is called as Triputi. Seer, seen, seeing, experience of seeing. All the three vanishes. So I attained that supreme state. And then what happened? Rupam bhagavato yattad manah kantam shuchapaham apashyan sahasotthasthe vaiklavya durmana iva. That form of the Lord, that experience, that state, which put an end to all suffering, and I was steeped in the bliss of Atman. But suddenly, that experience vanished. Apashyan. And sahasauthe, I just got up because suddenly that bliss vanished. I got up, durmana iva. Durmana means what? Sumana means a person who has a good mind, a pure mind. So Durmana means what? A person with an impure mind. A person with an impure mind, if he sits for meditation, what happens? You can't even close your eyes. Forget about sitting quietly. The moment you close your eyes, what do you see? In whose company are you with? Your own terrible mind. Now will you enjoy that company? Mind filled with likes and dislikes. Mind filled with anger, greed, lust, jealousy, hatred, revenge. Mind which is wandering here and there. Miserable state. You sit and meditate and you experience this kind of extroverted, sensuous mind. Will you enjoy meditation? Even sitting quietly becomes very difficult. You see the terms used, durmana. How a person with an unprepared mind becomes miserable sitting all alone in meditation. In the same way, I became miserable and I got up. I was not even able to sit. I had reached such heights and suddenly as though I fell down. Didrukshustadaham bhuyah pranidhaya manohridi vikshamanopi napashyam avitrupta ivaturaha. Again I sat, tried to fix my mind. Maybe because of some reason mind went away. I tried again and again. I was absolutely dissatisfied with that state of bliss. I wanted it again and again, but nothing happened. Evam yatantam vijane mamaha gocharo giram gambhira shlakshnaya vacha shuchaf prashamayanniva. In this way I was striving hard to come back to that state of supreme meditation. But nothing was happening, and at that time I heard a voice. I heard that voice, a divine voice from the divine, which was beyond all words. Gambhira Shlakshnaya Vacha. I heard these words which were powerful, serious, very clear, unambiguous, divine, a mystic voice I heard, an unearthly divine voice. As though these words were spoken in order to console me. So now these are the words of God speaking to him. What were those words? Hantasmin janmani bhavan namam drashtumiharhati avipakva kashayanam durdarshoham kuyoginam. So those words of the divine, the Lord spoke to Narada Rishi. What did that voice say? Hanta, alas, asmin janmani, in this birth, bhavan mam na drashtum iha arhati. In this birth you are no more going to experience my presence. Bhagavan, why is it so? Kuyoginam aham durdarshaha avipakva kashayanam aham durdarshaha. I hope you are able to understand. I cannot be experienced by kuyogi, not suyogi. And what is the definition of a kuyogi? A yogi who is unfit. What is the definition? Avipakva kashayanam. Those yogis whose vasanas are still existing. Mind is not pure. Some kind of desires you are entertaining other than God. Then it is impossible to have my vision. Now this is something which we have to pay attention to. You see, they are all pure Vedanta. Nayamatma pravachanena labhyah na medhaya na bahuna shrutena yamaivesha vrunute tena labhyah tasyesha atma vivranute tanum swam. This Atma, this Lord cannot be attained by what? Pravachanena. By talks, discourses, study of the scriptures. Na medhaya, not by your extreme intelligence. Na bahuna shrutena, not by listening to so many talks. Then who gains it? Yamaivesha vrunute. That person who chooses it gets it. So what is the law of this cosmos? The law of this cosmos is whatever you sincerely desire from the depth of your heart, that alone you get. This is the law. Whatever you desire, you get it. And unless we desire God single-heartedly, wholeheartedly, we are not going to get it. As long as there is some other kind of worldly desire, so long attaining liberation becomes impossible. Ramakrishna Paramsa gives a beautiful example. You see that you put this thread into the needle, isn't it? So if suppose one fiber is sticking out, will you be able to put that thread? In the same way, one fiber of worldly desire, if it is sticking out, then you will not be able to attain self-realization, God-realization. That is the meaning avipakva kashayana. Now this term is beautiful. See, some of these words are so beautiful that translation, they don't do justice to these words. The term used is pakwa. Pakwa means what? Ripened. Avipakwa means something which is not ripe. Avipakwa kashayam. Kashayam means the vasanas of the mind. Not the drinking kashayam. Avipakwa kashayam. You see, a fruit. What are the different stages for a fruit? The fruit has to grow, then it has to become ripe, and then finally it falls. Yes or no? In the same way, if you see everything in life, stages are similar. It grows, matures, slowly decays and dies. Our body also is like that. Asti jayate vardhate viparinamate apakshiyate vinashyati. It grows, matures, decays and dies. You see a wound filled with pus. How does it grow? It grows first and finally, correct? Everything in life is that there is a stage. Grows, matures, then slowly dies down. Ego also has to go through the same stages. It is not that you have to drop the ego in the beginning. No. First, the ego has to grow. It has to become a positive ego. You must have something called a self-respect. That is nothing but ego only, no? Unless I have done something good, self-respect doesn't come. Ego has to grow. You have to really do something good in the society. And then finally, as that ego ripens, becomes mature, it falls. So from tamas to rajas, what is happening to the ego? It is growing. It has to grow. A tamasic person is generally an inferiority complexed person. I am good for nothing. Others are all great. I am a good, I am a nobody. Then he has to become a somebody by hard work, by worldly achievements. That is called as growth. So that is from tamas to rajas. From rajas to sattva, that ego becomes ripe. Slowly you come to know, it is only because of God's grace that whatever I have achieved. It's all because of God's grace. Till rajas, what is his attitude? I did it. I attained with my hard work. But slowly he becomes wise. Everything happened because of God's grace alone. That becomes ripe, and finally he is able to drop the ego, and the moment ego is dropped, you come to know your true self. That is called as pakwa. Pakwa means ripening. So avipakwa kashayanam. Any desire is also like that, worldly desire. First there is a desire. You have not yet got that object. There's a desire. Then you work hard to get it. Yes, I can say. And you get it. Then you indulge in that sense object. Slowly, after so many, series of indulgence, slowly you start seeing the defect in that sense object. And when you start seeing the defect in the sense object, you develop dispassion for that sense object. And when you develop dispassion, you drop the sense object. You see the stages? First you craved for it, you worked hard for it, you got it. After that you understood it is worthless, then you dropped it. So there is a stage. These are all the stages of evolution. For everything, in Prakriti you will find this is how it is. So now, Bhagavan is telling Narada, what is said? Kuyoginam avipakva kashayanam aham durdarshaha. Now you may think, Narji, if he is a kuyogi, then what to talk of us? Such a pure-hearted person, what other desire he could have? So can anyone guess what was his desire? Desire for bliss. Desire for bliss, nothing wrong. What is wrong in having desire for bliss of the self? Then he must be liberated actually. Something other he was entertaining. See, this is the way you have to study, scriptures. Because till now we have seen Naradji was no defect at all. So what is the defect? The defect is this: he desired for Krama Mukti, not Sadhyo Mukti. What is Krama Mukti? I want to see the higher worlds, experience the higher worlds. Bhuhu, Bhuaha, Suaha, Mahaha, Janaha, Tapaha, Satyam. Many times devotees have this desire. I want to enter into the world of God. I should be the attendant of God. I should have the form of God. I should be very near to God. Salokya, Samipya, Sarupya. When these kinds of desires are there, so then Bhagavan has to fulfill that desire. Naradji had such a desire. That is why it is called Avipakva Kashayanam. That is also a desire. So Sadhyo Mukti and Krama Mukti, these are the two types of muktis. Sadhyo Mukti means what? You gain the knowledge of the self, matter is over. But suppose there is a devotee who says that, no, I don't want to become one with God. I want to enjoy the glories of God. His power, His glory, everything I want to enjoy. Then Mukti is not possible. Then you will have to go towards that world. Whatever world, according to the Ishta Devata. Suppose you are a worshipper of Vishnu, then where will you go? Vaikuntha Loka you have to go. If you are a worshipper of Shiva, where will you go? Kailasa. So these are all the desires. He says, I don't want mukti, I want these kind of things. Okay. Bhagavan says, Tathastu. So that is why Narada Rishi was not liberated. Okay. Then Sakrit yaddarshitam rupam etat kamayate nagha mat kamashanakai sadhuhu sarvan munchati hrichayan. Narada, Sakrit darshitam. I have given a glimpse of what my nature is. You know why I did it? Kamaya. So that you will desire me. You see? Because the one who desires me, mat kamaha shanekehi sadhu, such a sadhu, good-hearted person, slowly he drops all the desires of the world. Now this we have to understand. In spiritual path also, this is exactly the experience of all seekers. So you sit in meditation, you get a glimpse of the bliss of the self. Few seconds or few minutes, you get it and it's gone. Now what happens? You have tasted something higher, will you remain quiet? Once you have tasted something higher, you cannot remain quiet. You will crave for it more and more. This is how Bhagavan tempts us towards Him, attracts us towards Him. Every time we have done sadhana in the right way, He will give a little bliss. Thus we are tempted. Just like how we train our dogs. How do we train our dogs? Bunty, lie down, the fellow lies down. And one biscuit, take. You did what I said. Bunty, shake hand, you will do the shake hand. Again one more biscuit. I saw one nice dog in one of the house I was staying. So they will do this. Bang, bang! And the fellow dies with tongue and all outside. I was stunned. Motionless he will lie down with tongue out. And then he will get up for that biscuit. Then I told them, you can do so much. Why don't you just train the dog? Hari Om. The two legs standing up, sitting on the hind legs. Hari Om, people will be stunned. They said, yes, Swamiji, we'll work on it. Some dogs are very intelligent. They just grasp it. Anyway, the point is, this is how we train the dog. The moment the dog is doing what I want him to do, then I give biscuit. So in the same way, Bhagavan also gives us biscuits of bliss. Too much of biscuit should not be given, only one. In the same way, whenever in those rare moments when we drop our ego, a bliss comes. Whenever we walk the path of righteousness, there is a bliss. Whenever we work for the welfare of the totality, you feel a sense of fulfillment, a joy, an inexplicable divine joy. It is all coming from the Lord. And again, when we become selfish, He withdraws that joy also. Sometimes what happens, we become proud of bliss also. Some rare moments we are extremely filled with joy and we are experiencing Bhagavan. Somewhere we will see, I have achieved, I have attained, I have arrived, holier than thou attitude. You see, immediately He withdraws that. Dhadam, you fall. So these are all the ways in which Bhagavan inspires us in the path of spirituality. And this is how we come to know, yes, this is the right way. Otherwise, how will we know? The moment we are doing what He wants us to do, then there is greater joy, greater fulfillment. Whenever we are going away from His will, there is pain. Exactly like how, that bullock cart, how that person controls the bullock. So there is this nose string, and that string is connected with a rope. So when the bullock is going in the wrong way, pull comes, and with every pull there is a pain. Correct? That's how the bullock understands. So this is the way my master wants me to walk. This is the way he doesn't want me to walk. Pain is the proof that I am disobeying my honor. So as far as bullock is concerned, it is the nasal pain. For evolved human being, it is a pain in the heart. That is the difference. There is disturbance of the mind. It is not the physical pain, it is a mental pain. You see? So every time the thoughts are negative, thoughts are selfish, thoughts are unrighteous, mind is disturbed. And every disturbance of the mind is a proof that somewhere I am displeasing my God. My God is displeased with me. Every disturbance. You cannot justify even one disturbance of the mind saying that, no, I am right in my disturbed state. So, Maha Mantra of life, always remember, if I am disturbed, I am wrong. What will the ego say? If I am disturbed, somebody is wrong. Because of this person I am disturbed. Because of that person I am. He made a mistake, therefore I am suffering. These are all Maha Mantras of life. Every time you are disturbed, say, somewhere I am going wrong. Somewhere my thoughts are going wrong. Somewhere I am displeasing God. God is Ananda Swarupa. If He has decided to give dukkha, it simply means I am not walking the path which He has laid down for me. This is how you must decode the message of disturbance. So every moment Bhagavan is guiding us. You must be able to listen to that. Yes. So Bhagavan is saying, In this way, I have given this Rupam, this experience I have given you only to inspire you in this path. Your path is absolutely right. Keep on going, keep on going. Yes. Narada, let me tell you one thing. Sat sevaya dirghayate jata mai dridhamatihi hitva vadyamimam lokam gantamajjanatamasi. In this way, keep on going in this path. Very soon the mind will become pure. You will drop the body and you will become one among my attendants. Majjanata. And then, in the next creation, whatever has happened, you will remember. Your devotion will become firm. So by my blessing, you will remember what all has happened. And saying this, that Bhagavan disappeared. He did not take a form, it was only a divine voice which he could clearly hear. Etavadukto pararamatanmahat bhutam nabholingamalingam aham cha tasmai mahatam mahiyase shirshnavanamam vidadhenu kampitah. That powerful voice of the divine, Nabholingam, Alingam, Ishwaram. We did not have any form, but that divine voice was there. So saying, it became silent. And when it became silent, I just bowed down in the direction from where that voice was coming. That Lord who out of compassion chose to show the path towards to me, I bowed down to him. And then I started living this way. How did you live, Narada Rishi? So this is a beautiful verse of how a seeker must live his life. A beautiful verse. Namanyanantasya tatrapah pathan guhyani bhadrani kritani chasmaran gam paryatan tushtamanagatasprihah kalam pratikshan vimado vimatsarah. Namani anantasya hatatrapah pathan. This is the first point. Chanting the name of the Lord. Here it is said without any shame or shyness. Chanting Bhagavan's name. This is point number 1. Point number 2. Guhyani bhadrani kritani cha smaran. Smaran, remembering all those leelas of Bhagavan. So this is second point. Always remembering Bhagavan with gratitude. He has blessed me in so many ways. Very many times we have been in great danger, calamity, problems, and then I sincerely pray to God and something happens. It will always, you will find always this. Whenever I am in trouble and I turn to God and seek help, something will happen. And I will be shown the way. But what is the mistake we do? At that time, yes, we are relieved. After that, forget. We don't even remember. Never remember. Never forget. Smaran. Always remember with gratitude. Bhagavan, in such and such situation, I was completely cornered, did not know what to do. Then I turned to you and you showed me the way. Ever remember in gratitude. You see, this is called as converting every calamity into an opportunity. Converting every calamity into an opportunity. Every calamity can become an opportunity. Opportunity for what? To develop our relationship with God. To develop love for God, devotion for God. We come to know that there is somebody who is always with us, taking care of us. How do we know? When there is a problem and I turn to Him, my problem is solved. In Bhagavad Gita, throughout, if you see some message which is repeated again and again, that is, come to me. Sarva dharman parityajya mamekam sharanam vraja. Come to me. Aham tva sarva papebhyo moksheshyami ma shuchah. Macchitta sarva durgani mat prasadat tarishyasi. Fix your mind in me. I will free you from all. I will empower you to face all challenges of life. Yogakshemam vahamyaham. Whatever you need, your welfare and well-being, I will look after. So again and again these kinds of things keep coming. Name bhaktaha pranashyati. But every time we get some goodies from God, when our desires are fulfilled, when we are protected from dangers, we should remember them again and again. In Kunti Stuti we will find how Kunti Mata remembers everything. That we will see maybe tomorrow. Okay, tomorrow, day after maybe. So, number 1, chanting Bhagavan's name. Number 2, remembering with gratitude what all he has done for us. The law of this cosmos is, when we are more and more grateful to whatever has been given to us, cosmos gives us more and more. When we are thankless for whatever has been given to us and complaining about what has not been given to us, what does the cosmos do? It takes away even that which is given to us. So you have to be very careful. There are certain laws in this cosmos, very dangerous. Positively make use of these laws and bless your life. Ignore these laws and be ready to suffer. So point number 2, smaran, remembering with gratitude. Then third one, gam paryatan tushtamanaha, be ever contented with whatever is given to you. Contentment, practice contentment. Whatever is needed will be given to you. If something is not given to you, it simply means we don't need it. Contentment, tushtamanaha. Fourth one, gataspraha. Give up all cravings of sense objects. Stop desiring what you don't have. Be contented with what you have. And number 5, kalam pratikshan. What do you mean kalam pratikshan? Wait for your time. Meaning, be ever prepared for death. At the back of the mind, this should always be there. For few more years, and I will not be there upon this planet. Be ready for it. Prepare the mind for it. Don't think that I will always be there here. Idam shariram parinama pesalam patatyavasyam slathasandhijarjaram kimaushadhai klishyasi moodhadurmate niramayam krishna rasayanam piba. Idam shariram parinama pesalam. This body is decaying. Patati avasyam. This body is definitely going to die. Slatha sandhi jarjaram. Every sandhi, junction, limbs, joints will break, and finally this body is going to fall. Hey moodha, hey durmate, a foolish fellow, kim aushadhaihi klishyasi. Why are you troubling yourself with medicines? There is one medicine which will be really effective. All the other medicines, a time will come when normal medicines are not going to work. But there is one medicine which will work. Niramayam Krishna Rasayanam Piba. This Krishna Rasayanam, medicine of Bhagavan's name, that will work. How will that work? That name will give you this experience that you are not the body. This is how it works. You are not the body, you are the observer of the body, you are pure consciousness. That is how this medicine works. Then there is no problem. What is going to die is not me, this instrument is going to die. Let it die. It is not my non-existence. It is a non-existence of the body. That doesn't mean that don't take medicines and all. Take medicine. But at the back of the mind, remember that a time will come when this medicine will not work. By then we should be mature enough to cheerfully leave the body. So mind has to be prepared. This is the point. Kalam pratikshan. You see? And then next one, vimadaha. So this is point number 6, vimadaha. So what is the first one? Chanting Bhagavan's name. Second one, remembrance in gratitude. Third one, contentment. Fourth one, free from all desires. Fifth one, prepare the mind for this final exit from this planet. And sixth one, vimadaha. Vimadaha means what? Free from arrogance. Live in this world with total humility. Cultivate humility. Ever be humble. In fact, this one thing if you practice, you will always have peace of mind. Whether you know Aham Brahmasmi or not, don't worry. But this one you practice. So what are the 4 Mahavakyas? I am nothing, I know nothing, I have nothing, I can do nothing. Don't say Aham Brahmasmi and all that. Keep it aside. Practical tips of peace. Bhagavan, I am alive. How am I alive? I don't know. How I see? I don't know. How I hear? I don't know. How I think? I don't know. All my talents and abilities, I really don't know how it functions. Kidney, liver, how it functions, I don't know. Literally speaking, I don't know anything. Just practice this. You will find that your mind will be absolutely peaceful. And as you are practicing this, you become fit to understand the highest knowledge, Aham Brahmasmi knowledge. That comes out of God's grace. So what is self-effort? Becoming humble is self-effort. The highest knowledge comes as God's grace. So vimadaha. Be humble. Whenever others are praising you, beware. You are nourishing your enemy in you. Where is your enemy? Not outside. He is right within me. My own ego is my enemy. Wherever there is ego, kama, krodha, lobha, moha, mada, matsarya, all negativities. The mother of all negativities is one's own ego only. Raga, dvesha. You will always find that when the mind is extremely disturbed, you are possessed by your ego. It's a symptom. What is the symptom of fever? Temperature. In the same way, what is the symptom that ego has possessed me, devoured me? Disturbance of mind, worry, tension, anxiety, stress. Are all the indication. At that time, practice these Mahavakyas. You will be amazed how the mind becomes quiet. Just like the moment the root is cut, the tree becomes dried up. The leaves, the twigs, the branches, everything dries up the moment you cut the root. The root of all problem is ego. Puncture the ego. Deflate the ego. Efface the ego. That's all we need to do in life. Vimadaha, that is 6th one, isn't it? 7th one, Vimatsaraha. Don't compare yourself with others. Everybody Each one of us, we have our own journey. We need not compare ourselves with others at all. Many times we become miserable by comparing. So this way, Naradji lived his life. 7 pointers. Evam Krishnamater Brahman asaktasyamalātmanah kālah pradurabhūt kāle tadit saudāmini yatha. In this way I was living my life, constantly remembering God, humility, gratitude. And then one day, suddenly death came. How death came? Like lightning seen amongst clouds. So when the lightning comes, unexpected, in the same way, death struck me and I had to leave this physical body. And the moment I left the body, I was given a divine body, Sukshma Sharira, the subtle body. And then after the end of that cycle, creative cycle, Kalpa, I was absorbed into Lord Brahma, and finally the next cycle when I was born, Sahasra Yuga Paryante Uttayedam Sisrukshatah Marichi Mishra Rishayah Pranebhyoham Chajatnire. In the next cycle when I was born, the next Kalpa, I was born along with the mind-born sons of Brahma, like Marichi, etc. So, as Narada, who is Narada? He is a mind-born son of Brahmaji. Antarbahishcha lokanstrin paryemya skandita vratah anugrahan mahavishno avighatagatik kvachit. And now I had this ability, antarbahishcha lokanstrin. I was given this ability to go in and out of any world. I had free pass entry. I could enter into any world at will because of the blessing of the Lord. I could enter into any world and into the heart of any person also. That freedom was given. Devadattam imam veenam swara brahma vibhushitam Murchayitva harikatham gayamanascharāmyaham. And Bhagavan blessed me with this Deva Veena. It has Swara Brahma Vibhushitam. There are some of these swaras which you can't hear in this earthly plane. It is divine. So this particular Veena, Devadatta Veena, divine Veena, it was given to me by the Lord. So I play this, chant the name, and then spend my time going to different worlds. Oh Vyasa Rishi, why did I tell all this story of mine? I told this where I was and where I am. Who I was? I was just a son of a servant maid. But then Bhagavan's devotion transformed me. And today I am known as a Deva Rishi. Devarshinam cha Naradaha, Bhagavad Gita says. All because of devotion for God. Therefore, O Vyasa Rishi, compose something which will inspire people to develop devotion for God. This is what you have to do. And thus, playing on Veena, Narad Rishi departs. And Vyasa Rishi, looking at Narad Rishi, says, Aho devarshi dhanyoyam yat kirtim sharga dhanvanah gayan madyan nidam trantrya ramayatyaturam jagat. Oh Narad Rishi, blessed is your life. On one side, you are intoxicated in devotion for the Lord. On the other side, you are instilling this devotion in the hearts of all. Blessed indeed is your life. So now, Vyasa Rishi goes into meditation and brings out what is called as Srimad Bhagavatam. So here ends the story of Narada Rishi. You see, many times Narada Rishi in our all serials and all these things, he is portrayed as a comedian, comic character. And sometimes we say Narada means a person who creates fight also. Tells this here, there, here, and make them fight. These are all the wrong notions we have gathered by watching too much of serials, okay? So, read the scriptures properly. What a great personality he was. He was the one who transformed Ratnakara into Valmiki Rishi. He was the one who inspired Valmiki Rishi to write Ramayana. He was the one who inspired Vyasa Rishi to write Bhagavatam. He was the one who inspired Dhruva by giving that mantra Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. And he was the one who gave that supreme knowledge to Prahlada when he was in the womb of Kayadhu. Again, later on you'll find he guides Yudhishthira also. That story we will see. So wherever somebody is spiritually confused, he would come, guide them and go away. So such is the greatness of Narada Rishi. Right. So tomorrow we will see another devotee story. Right. Did you like it? Good. Oh. Om Sarve Bhavantu Sukhinah Sarve Santu Niramayah Sarve Bhadrani Pashyantu Ma Kaschid Dukkha Bhag Bhaved Asato Ma Sadgamaya Tamaso Ma Jyotirgamaya Mrityorma Amritam Gamaya Om Purnamadav Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadhaya Purnamevavashishyate Om Shanti 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 Harihi Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha Harihi Om.